Throughout history, there have been many cultures around the world where a man had more than one wife. What are your thoughts on that being practiced in this society today?
Again, it's the mindset. Now, in Africa, and well, mainly in Africa, where they have more than one wife. But he has the main wife, then the second wife, and the third wife. Now, the main wife is the one that says, okay, you can marry her. You understand what I'm saying? These women here, they wouldn't go for that at all. No kind of way. No kind of way. Even though they don't have no man. But they still wouldn't go for it. And then they end up doing just what they say they don't want to do. Now, she's messing with this woman's husband, and you know what I'm saying? But they don't see that.
They're kind of practicing the polygamy, but in an underhanded way to where they really don't get the full benefits of the community.
Exactly.
Because it's like a
Exactly.
kind of competition, or she doesn't know about her and so on and so. So it's got to be kind of yeah. And so it doesn't get the benefits that our forefathers got from the whole community aspect.
But then again, these wives in Africa, they all work for the family. They all do their part for the family, just like Spanish people do here. You get it's 3 or 4 of them, they go cook, they go wash, they take the kids to school. Some work in the day, so they sleep at night. The other ones work at night, they sleep in the day. You know, we can't do that.
I think first and foremost, for that to happen, it has to be a level of maturity in the consciousness of society. I don't think that mankind can handle that at this point. That's just a personal opinion, though.
Oh, well, that depends on who's doing what. You know, that's just like having children. You know, you're not supposed to have more children you can take care of, you know. And so, you know, that's to each individual.
Well, I think if one would pick up Neely Fuller's book, I think it's a code on how to deal with white supremacy. I think that's the title, somewhere in there. But if in it, he states about, again, having a just society. And I think whether you have one wife, no wives, homosexual, heterosexual, whatever the case may be, if you're principled and just in whatever you practice, then it's going to work itself out, because you will not do anything to violate another person. So if you happen to pick up one woman, or she happens to pick up you, and you both agree that another wife or another husband is part of what you want, fine. But as long, again, as it's just and correct, the number is irrelevant.
Nah. I'm kind of a modern day, like, American woman, so I'm like, oh, I don't think so. No.
Okay, well, it is practiced, you know, in some parts of society, not legally, really, but it's practiced like in Utah. But the thing in Utah, man, is there's some of these guys, they just went crazy with it, like, yeah, maybe 20 wives and 60 children, and then when the little boys become teenage or young men, they kick them out. They don't want them messing around with any of the women, and so it's a big problem. But in the Muslim religion, they limit it to 4, right? And I would think that if you're going to have polygamy, which has been, for most of history, it's existed all over the world for most of history, but like the Muslim, they limit it to 4. So I could see a limit. It's funny, I was talking to some Muslims from Africa. I said, well, what happened? You know, you come home late, you got these 4 women looking at you cross-eyed, and they kind of laugh, because what happens is they don't have them all living under the same roof, right? So they have like different, yeah. That'd be kind of tough, I guess. I have to deal with all 4 of them at the same time.
That's a very tough one. As a married man, I try to have to stay with one woman, but, you know, it's very tough because it's Los Angeles, 2006. It's a very tempting place. We have to try and stay focused.
I personally think it's as it should be. It is unnatural. If a man arises to a height that he can provide for more wives than one, he should. Right now, there is so much less man than there is woman. There's coming like 7 to 8 women to one man. And even scriptures say that there will come a time that man will have 7 and 8 wives. Even if he don't lay with them, just to have his name, to be honorable. Can I see it?
I think for black people, I think it's the ultimate ideal. Not because of sex, not because they have more than one woman, because a lot of black women have children with no man. That's a common sense thing. So I think for me, the greatest thing that happened to me when I was coming up, that first of all, my mom had a boyfriend, but he was a man. The dude had a PhD, so he was able to teach me things that my father didn't teach me, or talk to me about things that my father would not talk to me. So if a father or if a male is present in a young boy's or a young woman's household, that gives that young man or young female an ideal to see what a man should be like in their relationships.
Yeah, that's true. There's different cultures. Well, I would say if it's a point where, which it is, just like in our community, it's like for every, it's like maybe 5-to-1 ratio as far as black men and women. And I believe that if it's a point, if the sister respect that and believe in it and can understand that if there's a man that's trying to take care of 2 or 3 wives at the same time and he's taking care of her and that family, but he still have responsibility to another family, I don't really see nothing totally that wrong with it, because it's not something that's would be new. That's a practice that's been going on for hundreds of years in other cultures, so I don't see anything too much wrong with it.
Is the term polygamy, that's what it's referred to, right? Well, it's a part of our African culture, you know, from Solomon to King David. It's nothing wrong. I think in the sense of why at times when it's done is due to a shortage of men in the community, where a man has to have more than one wife because there's less men than the women. Okay, I don't think it's something to be played with, because now men kind of call it a pimp thing, and they want to call it a player thing, and they don't see the cultural aspect of it. Now, if it was seen in the cultural aspect, in a cultural perspective, then I feel that that's okay, because that is a part of our culture. You know, for a man, for instance, if a man was in a house with if a man was in a house full of women, and a man slept with all those women, and all those women was pregnant, it'll only be that one man's child. Okay, now if there is a house with all men and one woman, and that woman slept with all those men, there's no telling who that, you see, the father of that child is. So that's why in our culture it's not practiced, not for a woman to go get more than one man, it's for a man to do it, because a man governs. But still he governs not to abuse his governance, but to see that the woman is the queen, and he has to keep it in accordance with that. So if it was in a cultural aspect of how we used to do it in our ancestral days, then I think it is positive to do, you know, and I think it's acceptable. So, like I said, culture comes first. We have to know the fullness of it, and once we fully know and understand it and clear on it, then I think it could be practiced in our community and in our society, because it's a part of us.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, now, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. These are the basic, the foundation to who are called the people of God, God's chosen people, Israel. Okay, now, even in nature you see like a chicken, a rooster, or a lion, a male of any species, the strongest of the species, basically the females gravitate toward the strongest. Okay, now we had men like Solomon. We had men like David. David, he committed a sin when he basically slept with Uriah, one of his military servants' wife. Okay, but then when the prophet addressed him, the statement was made that God had given him wives, not just one wife, were giving him wives. And, you know, I think the scripture says that God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. I think that the laws that are set up in America are basically set up by a society that is based on a wicked principle. This government was established on theft, murder, rape, and exploitation. And so how could they have righteous laws? How could their laws be truly based? Because the original laws were the laws that were given to the children of Israel. And again, getting back to your question, people like Solomon, David, who was a man that God said was a man after his own heart, had more than one wife. I think that a real man knows how to treat a woman. In this society and day that we live now today, we have many men who have kind of crossed over. I mean, they're liking men as opposed to women. And they also have many men who are in jail, and there are men that are at war who are basically, there's a shortage of real good men. And so I think that if a man is capable of financially as well as emotionally to support more than one woman, then according to what I see in the Bible, I personally don't think it's wrong. But the laws of the land have it set up that it's supposed to be wrong. But that's my beliefs on that.
Now, throughout history, many cultures, including the Hebrew Israelites of the past, our forefathers, had more than one wife. What are your thoughts about that practice today in this society?
I think that because of the society that we live in, if you understand the formation of the society that we live in, the formation of this society was based upon the Catholic outlook of life. And the Catholic outlook of life, when you go back into it, they outlawed what you would call quote unquote polygamy, which is a negative term when it comes to that. Because when you understand the basis of marriage, when you understand the basis of a man having more than one wife, that is very necessary, because that goes back to a definition, when things being properly defined. And it of course it's still a valid principle that should be applied today, because the amount of responsible men as opposed to the amount of women that are willing to be committed in a relationship, the ratios vary. So most of the men who are responsible are already married. And a lot of times women find themselves attracted to men that are married already because they see responsibility, so on and so forth. But then when it's time to become engaged in a relationship or whatnot, they become in conflict because they say, well, you're a married man. But not having no understanding of what the scriptures, what God's commandments have said, when many righteous men in the Bible had more than one wife. But not understanding that principle, because being in this society, most of the time women are taken out of lust, you know what I'm saying? Well, men just have them for a fling, and so women have these things within their mind. But a mature woman is able to see that principle and that concept and know that that's a righteous thing to do. So it's definitely a valid principle, and the reason that this society doesn't validate it is because they don't want men to have any power. Because they elevate women to this certain status, it keeps them at a certain status quo, because they can keep the men at bay through the women, by stripping the men of their power and then putting themselves up on a certain status. So it definitely is an exercisable principle, only for those who are willing, to live a righteous life. Then it's a exercising principle. But if you don't have that in your spirit, then it's not gonna make sense to you.
I think it could be considered. I'm not blind. I understand our culture has been erased from us. I understand that Abram, Moses, those guys had more than one wives, and God, he didn't rebuke that. So God don't never change. He stays the same, for as I'm concerned, and for as what I read, for as what I know. So I think I know that we can still do that today. But like I said, a lot of folks have trust in man law. They forget about the Heavenly Father's law, Yah's law. And that's the problem that we have today. And that's the problem that the whole world is going to have, because the whole world is going to be fooled by the demon. You got gay marriage, but it's legal in certain states. So does that make that right? Back in the day, we wasn't allowed to use the same restrooms as whites, but that was law. That was law, that was practice, but it wasn't right. Like I said, hey, trust in the Most High.
I think, as an Islamic perspective, in Islam, you are allowed to have up to 4 wives, right? But then again, I think most people don't fully understand that or misconstrue that whole idea. It's not like you just go run willy-nilly and you pick up 4 wives, It's done for a purpose. The way, with the teachings of Islam, and I can only speak from that in that regard, is it's done in a way to keep a certain moral cleanliness to society. The reason why Islam does that in regards to having more than one wife is because just throughout world history, you've always had a balance of more women in the world than men. you know. And even when you get into things like battles and wars, you find that it's more often so that men go to war than women. So what happens is, just to give a quick example, if you have a society where there's there's a camp but there's 20 people, and another camp but there's 20 people, and both sides go to war, Camp A and B go to war, and let's just say from one camp all the men return. There's 10 men, 10 women on both sides. And one camp all return. The other camp, maybe 7 men return. There's 3 that don't come back. So you have now a society where there's 3 women who are left without a partner. And what Islam tries to do is they try to make sure that they take care of that. So if you want to have a society where people are spiritually healthy, those women, Islam addresses the concerns. Those women have needs, right? You're human. You need comfort. You want to be with someone. You have your own sexual needs. And instead of these women, or they may be going to have children, So Islam tries to take care of these women by saying, okay, well, in this situation, then it's allowed for a man to take in that woman who may be in childbearing years. She may want to, to have children. She may be of an age where she's like 19 to a widow from 19 to 25 who can have children. If she's living in that society where she has no options of a man, what can she do? So Islam says, okay, well, that's the woman that you can bring into the home as another wife. And again, not because you're doing it for, I want to have multiple sex partners, what some people think. Also, it addresses the needs of what happens when you have a woman who might be, 45 years old, or so can't find a mate, can't have children. If you live in a society now where you're only allowed to have one wife, it can be hard for a woman when she reaches over 40 years old. Let's just say it's a woman who can't bear children. A man looks at her thinking, well, look, you're beautiful, you're nice, but you can't make me kids. And I got one shot. So that means you may be spiritually healthy. You may walk that path where you're with God. This one might not do it as much, but you know what? She can make me kids. So I think it can help in some ways so long as it's not abused. So I actually think people don't really understand that. They really, really don't. And they think it's done out of just want to have multiple sexual partners. It's done just to have fun.
The
And
media
it's really
takes it and they show these guys, and Jeff, this new guy they just arrested, Jeff, whatever his name was.
Mormon guy?
Yeah, and of course that's abuse. They've
Right.
taken it, they've abused it, the
Right.
principle. But a lot of people throw the baby out with the bathwater. They see the abuses of it and say, oh, see, that's not right.
Right.
that kind of
Right. I think it can actually be a betterment for society when it's done. It's done in its truest spiritual sense. Again, the man has to be walking that path with God, because in Islam it tells you again, you can only take on another wife if you can treat them all fairly. If you can do that. And it also goes back to say a lot of men can't do that. So there you go. But I think it could help society. It could help. It's not for everybody, but it can help.
In our society, it's illegal. Okay, so that's it. Based on the Bible, and based on the laws, you're not supposed to do things that are illegal. And that's my opinion on it as well. Any woman that's born in America, in America also, is not going to really fall for that. Typically, they're not going to fall for that. And that's especially if they operate within the guidelines of our society. If they're deviant, if they're out there in the streets, if they're doing things like, maybe selling their bodies or other things like that, then they're already accustomed to doing things like sharing anyway, because some of them are busy with drugs and prostitutions just as men are, So I would say, as far as having multiple wives and things like that, it's going on. The Mormons in this society do it, even though it's not legally sanctioned. They have 2, 3, 4, 5 wives, They have 10, 15, 20 children, Our ethnicity, African Americans, tend to do the same thing to an extent. Not many of us, but there are a certain amount of us that go out there and we will have children by, maybe 1, 2, or 3 or 4 different females, and that's not uncommon. I was reading a book recently by a young black author who talks about how these statistics are just really messed up in society, and they always paint black people in a negative light. But one of the things that she has pointed out is that births for single parents, typically females, are on the rise. And these days I would say that, based on the economic stat, most of them are a lot better off than they used to be. But But typically, you know, as far as polygamy is concerned, it's just not legal. It's not sanctioned. It can be problematic, you know. But the facts are more children are born, you know, to single-parent families these days, and I'll say it that way, than married families. So that's another issue.
Well, Minister Farrakhan says, and I go to this one here. He says we love to preach monogamy and practice polygamy. It's like, if we're going to practice it anyway, why not make it legal in designated states if they like it legal?
In this society, I think that it really has a lot to do with the individual, because there are people that are bound by their cultures and traditions and all over the world, and there are people that on a preferential level, this is the lifestyle that they choose. I believe, though, that that any case where there is that something is not embarked upon with true sincerity, then I think that's going to be problems for the individual, whether it be the wife, a multiple wife situation, or for the husband.
I don't know that it's necessary. And I guess I would have to look at the context with which it happened in the past. It's difficult to say, you know, it was right then, wrong now, or vice versa. But I think with respect to where we are now, I don't know that it's necessary.
Yeah, see, my grandfather had more than one wife, you know. But the thing is this, I'm from Ghana originally. But the thing is this, culturally wise, it's different. From the culture that I'm coming from, women are protected. You know, I always say this, every religion, there's this kind of little infiltration of culture in it. You know, this idea of marrying more than one wife, like Islam says a maximum 4. But some of us, I think, don't understand the true concept of the maximum 4. It comes with a clause. And the clause says, provided you be equal in justice. So if you cannot be equal, you ultimately have to marry one. And I said, there's no, also talking about polygamy. I know a lot of people say Islam, there's a lot of polygamy in Islam. I mean, if you just take the U.S., for instance, there's a legal polygamy and illegal polygamy. Unlike here in the United States, I see a lot of beautiful ladies walking around here. They got 1 or 2 babies without their baby daddies. Okay, and that's worse polygamy. And as compared to Islam, I would say, okay, large or lawfully, if I'm within a neighborhood, or they know, okay, this is my wife, my wife. Yeah, they know, yeah, they married. As compared to, okay, I know who the baby dad is. Yeah, so it has been a problem. But then the cultural wise, but the woman is always protected. There's this equality, you know, between the man and the woman. The only thing the man had over the woman is his responsibility, because he has to provide, you know. But other than that, everything is equal, you know, between the man and woman. But it is sad that because the media will, I mean, I would say the media propaganda, you know. Of course, today we're watching what I call the terrible vision that has a lot of negative impact on us and our children. So that is why some of our parents don't really know nothing themselves, much less teaching the children. Being a teacher in a class is a whole lot of responsibility. You have to know something to teach somebody something. But if you don't know nothing yourself, I'm sorry. You know, so back to the idea of marrying wife. Yeah, if you can't afford it, go ahead, but be cool and just with all of them.
I myself have children outside my marriage, but however, those and that comes by mingling with other women and getting with other women and all like that. But on a positive note, that any child I bring into this earth, into this world, that's my child. That child don't belong to the county. So therefore, if I'm gonna make a child with this woman, it's my responsibility to take care of my child. Don't belong to the county. Don't belong to the government. That's my baby. You know, I'll take care of mine. If I gotta get out here and sell oranges and peanuts and food on the corner, or recycle, or whatever it takes. That's my child. I'm gonna take care of my child, and I'm gonna instill qualities in them.
Because I see this society, they look down on maybe a man being a father to different children by different mothers. But if we look at our culture, our ancestors, that's how it was, even biblically.
That has been that way since the beginning of time. And we that's one thing society and man is not going to be able to control. But however, any man, if he's a man, if he's a real man, he gonna spend time with his children. If he helped to brought that child into this world, he gonna spend time with his children. He gonna do what he has to do as a man to make sure they got food in their stomachs and clothing on their back, and help to keep a roof over their head. That's what a man is gonna do. Now, a sucker gonna get out there and just have one and just be like, hey, it ain't mine, and know that it's his. That ain't no real man.
At my core, I'm a Christian, so I'm gonna have to say one wife is what you're supposed to have. I don't have any specific thoughts outside of that. That's just my opinion. But I do respect other people's opinion. I know that my opinion doesn't rule all. I don't know everything, and I may be wrong about some things. Just like, abortion. I'm against abortion. But, if someone's going to have an abortion, I'm not going to I'm not going to talk to you ever again or something like that. I would like to say I'd like to look more into a person's character than if they have more than one wife or not, although that speaks pretty loudly. So, yeah.
Well, since I don't practice it, I really can't speak to it. Like I said, to each his own. First of all, because free expression, free speech. Now, on the other side of it, I always think of the children. And what does that say about children, and what does it say about society as a whole? We have all mostly been raised to come up in a two-parent household. Not 3, not 4, not 5. Now, either we're saying we're going to abandon that or we're not. Now, myself, two-parent household. I mean, that's just the way it is for me. That's how I was raised. But I do understand that people have freedom of speech and expression. More power to those people. I just say think about what's happening and how it affects the children and our children, because they're the ones who are usually influenced more so than anyone else.
Well, personally, I don't think that it's right according to my own religion. But, if they're willing participants and it's two willing adults, I don't see why it should be wrong, and he's able to take care of them, then I don't think there's anything wrong with it. There's men that have more than one girlfriend, so, as long as everybody's happy.
Well, personally, I think one woman is a whole lot. I've been married, so I know one woman is enough. Now, it depends. It depends now. My belief is that one woman is enough. And I believe what the word said, that a man's a husband be with one wife and a wife one husband. I dealing with 2 or 3, brother. I've been through one. It was something. Now, you had to deal, depending on what the understanding is, But my thing personally, I think a man should have one wife and a woman should have one husband.
See, in this society, nothing will work in this society because this is established under Europeans, and this kind of law that will never work. Well, this will never work because this is not law. This is a man's law. People used to live a long time ago when everything was in balance under God's law. This has nothing to do with God, even though it says it on your dollar bill, "In God we trust." No, this has nothing to do with God. Nothing.
Well, I don't know why anybody would want more than one wife, really. I will tell you the honest truth. I think that it would have to be a understanding between all of the people involved rather than just the one person's idea of happiness for him or herself. And if that was the case, if they were consenting adults, I see no problem in it, really. I have no problem in... oddly enough, I have no problem with gay people getting married. It doesn't bother me that they want to get married. It doesn't bother me that someone would want to have more than one wife. I don't think that has any detrimental effect on society in itself. So, no, I have no problem with that. I tell you, that's a practice that goes back much longer than the laws against it have been here. So no, I don't have any problem with that. In fact, it may be an answer rather than a problem.
Depending on the religion, I have no thing against it. If the Mormons wanted to do that, or in Africa where the tribes, kings and heads of the tribes feel that they can do it, I have nothing against that.
If people have wives and coercion is involved, like we read in the newspaper where it's a cult-like atmosphere or something like that, but yeah, I think anything that people want to do, as long as it's not hurting other people, there's so many things that are important from my perspective to focus on other than what people do in their own personal relationships.
I don't know too much about it. I think if two adults agree with it and it's a lifestyle they want to live and it's healthy for them, why not? Personally, I couldn't handle that.
Well, it takes place on a case by case, and like my friend told me, it was a serial case of polygamy. And in that serial case of polygamy, they are polygamous, one wife at a time, and the system is called divorce. However, I believe that there is a benefit in the union between man and woman, or in the relationship or the association, which would balance the spirit in each of the individuals. For polygamy, I believe that since we are losing men, where is that need going to be met, and how is it going to be met if there is only this one person? I guess necessity is the mother of invention. So if the need provides for polygamy, let that be. If the need provides for it. And I see that it's coming to that.
Well, until we get that straight, some Bibles say you're supposed to have only one wife, and I understand in other countries they say you can have more than one wife. Until these people sit down and get their Bible, get the true knowledge of what the Bible is talking about, I really don't have that much to say about one wife or two wives.
Well, I figure, well, as far as I know, I believe in that. You should limit it to 4. I mean, a lot of people don't even know that even the churches, they practice polygamy up until like what, Henry V or whatever like that, and that was part of the whole profile. Polygamy is part of the African family structure. If for those at home watching say that's terrible, that's because you still have Willie Lynch in your head. Polygamy, that's part of the African family structure.
Like they attach, like now you see the news about polygamy, and they have this guy on the news that just caught, and a lot of things they throw in with the word polygamy is, the little children having sex or marrying away a little 13-year-old girl, and that's what our people don't realize. That's how part of the man's game, the quote-unquote man's game, is that's how he throw things at you, and control your mind the way you think about something, because you see polygamy and then you see pedophile and this together. So now when you, like the brother said, you think about it or you discuss it righteously, like you said, a lot of men in the Bible that the Lord called his friend, the Lord that said, you coming up here next to me, it's going to be in heaven. This man had more than one wife. And I find that very interesting that a woman can say, you know what, God, your morality and what you think is right and wrong is not up to my standard. A man should only have one woman, and that's wrong, what you let go. And that's very, women really have to check themselves, because you put yourself on the opposite end of God. Because you're saying, well, what, you don't agree with me? What I deemed as righteous. And one more point is that you can't be in a relationship like that if you lustful or if you or type of whoremonger brother. It's not for that. It's not about that. And that's what the man, he throws in there, and that's what first thing women think about. When they see a man with more than one wife is the sex, and they think of a man's lust and he's the one to run around. It's not even about that. That's a very immature way and to look at it, and a very immature way to even discuss that topic. It's a lot, like your brother says, a lot of definitions that need to be defined.
Yeah, man, it's Hot 97 official number 1. Akon is in the building.
I'm in the place.
It's countdown time. We're going to hook you up after number 1. Somebody's going to win 500. Maybe you'll win 50's truck. Akon is reading a book about cheating and how to get away with it. And I will clear you up and say that the book was in the studio. You didn't bring it from home.
The studio.
Somebody sent me a book that teaches guys how to cheat on their woman or their wife.
Yeah.
Are
It's
you
hilarious.
And Akon thinks it's funny.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Are you a cheater, Akon, or are you a?
No, actually,
are you,
I'm real honest. I don't cheat.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
You know,
Explain.
I mean, you only
Explain-
cheating. You only
explain your
cheating,
status, Akon.
You only cheating when you're sneaking. That's when it's cheating.
So you're open about you date or what?
I think it's important to be open.
Okay.
You know, you give the other person the respect, knowing, okay, I got other partners, you got other partners. Then it's a even exchange as far as whether or not you choose to deal with them. You know, I think it's a decision you have to make once you know it. But what causes the problem is that cats and, you know, chicks be lying.
Chicks? Why the chicks gotta be lying?
Listen, chicks be lying too. The worst.
You mean said the worst? He's
No,
been
like,
going through something. He guys knows in that book hard. I don't know about the worst, B, but
I mean, come on.
I'm sure
I mean,
there's plenty of chicks.
You got to be adults about it. Everybody know, especially if you gorgeous or you handsome. If you ain't a bad looking person, common sense will tell you you are not alone. I know you ain't alone. You may have some friends you may be talking to. You got exes that still call you that you still flirt around and mingle and zingle with. So
Really?
it's obvious. You just got to be an adult about knowing, okay, well, I'm not the first person you met in your life, and I ain't going to be the last, but at the same time, I'm not the only person in your life.
So with that attitude, how will you? I mean, do you ever want to be married or in a monogamous
of
relationship?
course. I mean, that's something everybody chooses to have. Multi-monogamous.
No cheatings? Multi-monogamous at the same time? Or multi-monogamous?
No cheating. It's not cheating if they all know about it. And it ain't cheating if she cheating.
What is multi-monogamous? What does that mean? What does that mean?
What's the other word for monogamous? You know I'm African. I'm still learning the English language, man.
Monogamous means that you're
That
in
means you buy with one person,
One
right?
person,
And
yes.
what's the other one?
What do you mean?
It's monogamous and it's the other. What's the other one?
Monogamy and polygamy.
Polygamy. That's
Polygamy is when you're married to different people.
it. Okay, so I'm on the polygamy side then.
Really? What do you mean by that? What do you mean? What is that?
Well, you know, I can afford to have as many wives as I can afford to have. Now, what I choose to have is my choice.
Okay, we have to talk about this, Akon.
Yeah, that's when I come to promote the album. Well, right now, let me not say too much.
No.
The chicks might be like, I used to like him, but now, oh hell no.
No, this is, look, I watch Big Love.
on
HBO.
Man.
So, as I am opposed to polygamy, we watch that show and you start to understand how maybe that could work.
No, it can work though.
But you
It's
really
all
believe
honesty.
that?
Yeah, of
in having
all Africans believe in it.
Really?
We just
You
don't
can't
do
say
it. all. No, all of them do. The ones that don't believe in it just happen to bump into an American chick before they can get there. But they all believe in it. Trust me, I'm African. I know.
So what was your family like that? Like
yeah, my dad's like that. My dad has 4 wives.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, he got 4. Possible.
Shut up, Mose. Trying to have a intellectual conversation.
No, but it's all about maturity though. And you know,
Your father has. So you grew up with.
I got 19. We deep, man. It's like 19 of us. Like we deep for real, for real.
Akon, please. This is so interesting to me. So you grew up. Your father had 4 wives.
Mm-hmm.
And how does that? So do you have then 4 mothers or is one?
Yeah, I got 4 mothers. But my
Really?
of course you got the main mother. But it's like when you grew up in that environment, you don't look at it like the stepmoms, because it's just mom. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but yeah, no, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
you have
don't-
4 mothers.
Yeah, you don't even look at it that way. And it's not like they all live in the same house, because the rules are you can't have them all in the same house. You got to be able to afford to have them in their own castle, their own form of transportation. You got to be able to provide them with the same lifestyle that they had when you met them.
Right.
And none of them can be equal, like more than the other. So let's say I marry you,
Right.
and you're just basic, but then I marry this chick and she's a millionaire, but her lifestyle stands a certain way. I have to match your lifestyle up with her, because y'all got to be treated equally, loved equally, everything.
So if I have no money and she has $1 million, you have to make me have money too.
Yes, you got to be able to live the same lifestyle she about to live, or she been living.
And they don't get jealous, like your mothers don't get jealous about the other one?
It depends. If they grew up in the culture, they don't get jealous at all, because they understand the culture. But if you don't grow up in the culture, naturally it got to be explained.
You don't think that you could do that with American women, though, do you? Do you think you can be
I
able to
think
find a
it's
chick
capable.
here? Have you been able to find chicks here that are open to that?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Really?
Yeah.
Not in his head, yes.
He's not, yeah. Just
No, believe it or not,
for the
you'd be
listener out there,
surprised.
he's
You'd be
not in
surprised.
his
There's
head,
a lot of
yes.
American women that understands that culture, though.
What can I ask what religion you are?
I'm a Muslim.
Oh, you're Muslim. So that's also...
Yeah, me and Ebro the same. Assalamu alaikum.
Look, don't let... I don't know if Ebro's Muslim or not, but Ebro's way of dealing with women has nothing to do with Islam
Hey, come on, man.
or anything like that.
Hey, I'm like, what's my man name? If I go down, we all going down.
Oh
you
my
coming
God.
down with me?
This is so interesting, Akon. This is so interesting. So wait, can I please, because you just opened
New
me.
Jack City.
So wait, okay. So do you have women now? Do you have women now who are in this kind of?
Well, if I would hate to lie to you on air, but if I'm like, yo.
Because if you were not tuned in earlier, Akon said you should have many wives and that you have to treat them all the same way.
And then you have to be able to provide them with the same lifestyle as the
next one has, as the richest one.
She'll be providing all our lifestyles.
So if you bring a millionaire chick into the picture, your other wives, or a billionaire chick into the picture, your other wives probably be amped like, we're going to be doing it.
They will encourage that to happen so fast.
Really?
Because they have to approve it.
Oh, they have to approve any new wife.
You can't just marry chicks like that. They got to be able to approve it. If they don't approve it, it's not going to happen.
Now, how does that work? I'm sorry to go back to this,
No,
but
I mean,
this is so interesting.
Yeah, you have to get permission. Listen, baby, I found somebody I really like. I want y'all to meet her. Let me know if I got your blessings to marry.
And then you have a dinner.
And then, of course, you have dinner. You can probably hang out. They may go shopping. They go chill. They talk on the phone. Get to feel each other out. If it ain't a go, they be like, no, I don't agree. And if let's say you got 4 wives, all 4 don't agree, you can't do it.
Really?
Really, like
So
one don't agree, it's not going. It can't happen, and you're against the law. And she can, like, rightfully walk away from the marriage.
And you can't just bring one in and be like, look, I'm picking her and she's staying.
You know, there's people that do it.
Right.
But I mean, I like to follow the rules.
Where did you learn these rules?
Oh, in Africa.
But I mean, is it like a written rule?
Yeah, these are written rules. You can find them all in the Quran.
In the Quran.
Mm-hmm.
So you follow it to the T in the Quran.
I mean, not to the T, because I'm still learning it to the T. But I follow as much as of it I know. And of course, if certain parts of it is, you might mislead or you might have been miseducated to it, you're always learning more and things, and people always correct you.
Are all your wives Muslim also?
Well, naturally they're supposed to be, but there's a time between it. It's not no mandatory situation, because I feel like whatever makes you a better person at the end of the day is all that matters, because we all follow the same commandments at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it's preferable this way because, certain laws will conflict otherwise.
That's unreal, Akon. Why have I never gotten wind of this about you? Have you ever talked about this in an interview?
You're the first person ever even brought it out of me.
Really?
I keep all that stuff private.
Of course. But
like I told you before.
But let me tell you something. After you leave this interview, after today,
we're going to create a show around
Who's your publicist? Who does your public? Because that phone, whoever is your publicist, their phone was not going to stop ringing about this interview, because people are going to want to know more about it.
The only way I'm going to talk about it, they give me a reality show like Flav. And other than that, I'm not speaking on it unless it's you. You get exclusive rights on my relationships.
Did you get that?
If I don't get a reality TV show on this,
and let me tell you
and
something
Steve
else.
Rifkin as the judge, it's not going down.
Let me tell you something else, Akon. If I may have other questions after the interview.
No, whenever you have it. I want to be able to educate people to it, so they,
I might call you
at it,
I might call you on Tuesday at like 3:30 and be like, and what happens if the girl? I may hit you with that, because I may go home tonight and have a real live question about this.
It'll make relationships a lot more smoother, I promise you.
Unreal.
You just take the time to understand the guys, man. You understand men, you understand the world.
Have you written any music about this? Any songs? Or? Yes?
Smack that. No, not
smack that.
No, I got songs about it. They just ain't been released yet.
Will they be released ever?
Eventually, yeah. Eventually they will.
Do you worry about that part of your life being?
Not at all. I feel like once you get to a certain level, the day I decide to go to Africa and just base there, and I'm gonna make a movie about it and all that. It's gonna come out in the open like wildfire.
What about on this album? Nothing that
nothing. This album, I'm still that same dude you know from last year.
Oh my goodness! But
same cat you know from last year. Don't look at me any different. I'm just being honest, baby. That's it.
Bring the wives next time.
Yo, you know what? I might just do that one.
Could we really do it? I would love to talk to them.
I might just do that. I'll talk to them and see if they like to do it.
I'll come to work early.
Videotaping, man. I might just do that one day, man.
Yes, that would be such a first on the show. I love a first. I've done many interviews in my time. Heard many people's stories, but it's very rare that I could get like a first. So this is my first conversation about something like this.
I'm gonna talk to them and see if that's something they want to talk about on the air.
Like the day before the album, like the 20th of November.
That would help clear it up a lot of stuff too.
What stuff?
Just, for those that sitting by the mad, that want to sitting by the radio right now, mad as hell.
Mad. I mean, everybody's entitled to live their life how they
like I said, those
live
ones I love the most.
You'd call them probably closed-minded.
No, but you know what always used to kill me though.
Right.
Whatever makes people happy, why should it make you mad?
Right.
If they happy and I'm happy, what's the problem?